Our opening reading is by Elena Westbrook. In a world ravaged by violence, by hatred, by conflicts that seem eternal and insoluble, sometimes the only thing we can do is to be still for a moment, to remind ourselves what is real, that the sun rose this morning, the dirt is under our feet, the air whispers in and out of our lungs. This hour, try just to be present to each moment as it unfolds. Your simple attention is what makes these moments holy. I invite you to light your chalice at home as we begin our time together.
As we light our chalice, we share our church covenant. We promise to listen and learn together with compassion, curiosity, and an open mind. Engage in creating a warm and welcoming community. Work together and beyond our walls to address social and environmental challenges. And with our time, talent, and treasure, support our church and its mission.
Thank you, Nancy. Good morning. I'm Reverend Pam Romancic. My pronouns are she and hers, and I serve the Unitarian Church in Hinsdale, Illinois. It is green out there today. The April showers are doing their best to bring us May flowers. Nature is keeping her promise. The star wheel turns. The theme for this month is mindfulness. We've been talking about mindfulness a lot this year. Being mindful means being present to what is real. And what is real always contains so much more than we see on the surface if we stop and really look at the whole of it. It's been a really hard year for so many people. And today we gather to support one another, to offer our attention and presence to one another so that we will keep moving forward and make it out of the pandemic all together in one piece. First, a little bit of housekeeping as we begin our morning. Thank you to everyone who attended the Time Travel Mania event last night to end our pledge drive. It was so good to see you all and to see appearances by important Unitarians and Universalists from throughout time. The whole thing was delightful. We thank Pam Fodor for her well of creativity, and then our amazing actors, Darren Howard, Ron Solberg, Mike Pabian, Susan Mooney, Nancy Krantz, Dave Mrazek, Chris Haney, Megan Griffith, for all the tremendous work they put in putting it together. And thanks to Jane Schaefer for helping us always on the technical end. Wonderful, wonderful work, folks. So thank you to everyone who has pledged as we now end our pledge drive. You are amazing. We have received a great high percentage, I'm not sure exactly what it is this morning, of our pledges, but you know what? There are still some folks out there who haven't yet pledged. Please open an email, fill out an online form, or mail your paper form back as soon as possible. Our volunteers are just people like you, and they have to spend their precious time following up on everyone who hasn't responded yet. So be kind, give them back some of their free time. Pledge today. And thank you for everyone working so hard to keep our church community strong and sustainable well into the future. Now, this week, besides our regularly scheduled meditation group, wise elders, breakfast groups, there's also a committee on shared ministry this morning, 11:30, a men's group meeting, which has been moved up to 11:45 from noon, so they're going to start a little bit earlier. A board of trustees meeting Wednesday at 7, and a worship team meeting next Saturday at 10:30. All of these links are in news and notes or on our website. So please do visit our website, follow us on social media, and read the Touchstone, which just came out last week, because there's so much good, pertinent information and things about what's going on in our church and in the world around us. If you have something to share or submit, please send it by the 20th of the month each month for the Touchstone. And if you submit things for news and notes, they now need to go to social media at hinsdaleunitarian.org. The old office email is mostly reserved for building and scheduling issues, so it doesn't get checked as often. If you're new or a visitor and would like to receive regular communications, you can leave your information in the chat box, or you can click the contact button on our website and we will make sure you are connected and in. If you also enjoy today's service, I hope you might share it with somebody who might appreciate, hopefully, some inspiration and some fellowship. All the services from the 2021 church year can be found on the church's YouTube page, where you can revisit your favorites or just see ones you missed. After the service, everybody is invited to stay for a brief virtual coffee hour. We split into chat rooms and you can talk about whatever you want. I hope we'll be talking about how wonderful the event was last night. And a little later on, we'll hold space for prayer and meditation. If you or someone you know is in need of support, please do let me or let one of us know. You can type your intention in all caps in the chat box or contact me via email or cell phone. Finally, thank you to Linda Rio for being our worship associate today, and to our regulars, Jamie and Jean and Suzanne and Paula Sajik-Dvorak, who runs our coffee hour. And thanks to Karen Mooney and Jamie, who worked on the special music this week. This is an amazing group of talented people who bring you the service each and every week. Now, feel free to sing along at home as we share our opening hymn, number 131, We'll Build a Land.
Good morning. This week on our faithful journey, we will highlight our second principle, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We will share a story about a boy named Roy, who will soon be having a birthday, and he can ask for any present he wants. After making a new friend, whose family doesn't have the luxury of purchasing large and expensive gifts, Roy learns that by finding balance between what he needs and what he wants can help him live our second principle by promoting justice and equity in his friendships. Instead of asking for more presents, he asks for half the presents, and the other half he made into a fund at his church that could be used for the birthdays of children in families that needed a financial boost. Based off this story and our discussion this week, the signpost for our faithful path is find balance. How can we be empowered to be agents of change who can identify practices of material excess and explore choices of voluntary simplicity. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your week.
A loving kindness meditation. This is an adaptation of a traditional metta meditation from the Buddha. The embodiment of loving kindness begins with the practice of morality. It requires uprightness and being straightforward, being gentle in speech, being humble and not conceited or demanding, being contented and easily satisfied. Be not burdened with duties, but be peaceful and calm. Be wise and skillful. Be careful in action and above reproach. To embody loving kindness, may your intention be with a feeling of gladness and security. May all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, those who are weak or strong, omitting none, those who are great or mighty, non-distinctive, tall or short, those seen and those unseen, those living near and far away, those born and yet to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, nor despise any being in any state. Let none, through anger or ill will, wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, let us remember and sustain this beautiful intention.
Hi, I'm Dave Lloyd, member of the Green Sanctuary Committee. From the beginning of our environmental work at UCH, we've had the help and support of Faith in Place. Faith in Place is an organization that works with houses of worship on environmental action, over 350 churches all over Illinois. They give people of all faiths the ability to be leaders in caring for the earth. They help educate, connect, and advocate for healthier communities. They bring together Black and white churches, mosques and synagogues, UU churches and Baptist churches on environmental and social justice work. Working with Faith in Place and with other churches has helped us keep up the energy and come up with new ideas. To this day, we're meeting with Faith in Place and people at other churches just about every month. We've benefited so much from our association with Faith in Place over the years. This month, we're returning the favor. Thank you for your support of Faith in Place.
Hello, I'm Mike Pabian, serving as secretary on the board of the Unitarian Church of Hinsdale. This is the time in our service when we remember the good things this church does in the world and invite you to help support our work. But it is important that I first thank you all so much for your wondrous generosity in continuing to support our congregation in these trying times. I know that for many of us, it cannot be easy. It warms my heart that our church home has found a special place in your hearts as well. We are a community of folks who are always learning about the world and finding ways to help make it just a little bit kinder. We share our space with many outside nonprofit groups, offer connection and inspiration to our community, help our children learn values to sustain lives of meaning and purpose, and work in many ways to create a more just society. Your support makes all of this possible. You can provide that support by going to our website, www.hinsdaleunitarian.org, and clicking on the donate button, or by simply sending your check to the church at 17 West Maple Street in Hinsdale. Thank you. Now, even though we can't be together right now, I invite you to say our offering words together. This church is made up of all of us. It is what we learn together, the work we do together, the fun we have together. It is what we share with one another, with the people around us, and with all the world.
Invite you into a pebble meditation by Martha Kirby Capo. I invite you into a place of relaxation and meditation this morning. You may wish to settle into your chairs, put your feet flat on the ground. Take a deep breath in and then a cleansing, relaxing breath out, allowing all tension to roll down through your shoulders, down your back, out the soles of your feet. As you breathe in soft, breathe out easy. Just rest for a few moments as we gather ourselves this morning. In these next several minutes, I ask you to give yourself the gift of time. Time for your spirit to lay down its burden. Time for your thoughts to ease away from each other, creating pockets of silence between the noise of their passing. Time for your body to simply rest. Time to rest, an infant safe and warm in the womb of our Mother Earth, listening only to the soothing and regular sound of her timeless pulse, connecting each of us to all that is. Time to simply be. You sit at the foaming edge of land and liquid, watching the rhythms of the waves, watching the water transmit the energy of the winds traveling over it, watching that energy crest across the barrier of sand and pebbles. Some pebbles, larger than others, only shift gently in place as the water sluices around them. Others, smaller, more agile, seem to chase the backwash as the water ebbs away, only to be returned more or less to where they began. Sometimes, near boulders at the water's edge, absorbing the water's energy in stoic strength, standing solid and unmovable, defiant and unyielding as the water churns around us. Sometimes, we are rocks, stubborn, slow to be moved, sluggish in our response to the tides pushing and pulling at us. Sometimes we are pebbles, tumbling helter-skelter, piggly-wiggly, pop, overwhelmed and unable to resist the breaking waves and the sucking backwashes that we just can't seem to get away from. Sometimes we are sand, with an infinite capacity to accept and absorb and transmit the energies breaking against us, able to allow those energies to pass through us, through pockets of silence, of space, of peace within. What are you today? The boulder, the rock, the pebble, the sand, all of these. What is the energies that is swirling around you? How is that changing you? How is that energy changed by your interaction with it. In every breath, in every curving muscle and ligament, in every pulse and rhythm you experience, there is a story of you, of who you were, of who you are now, of who you will choose to be, of how you choose to be connected to all that is, a story that is still being written by you. Take another deep breath. Take another and open your eyes. Your feet flat on the ground, your body resting against the back of your chair, your hands gently open, resting on your thighs. Into this space, we hold up our attentions for all of those in this community, for all who are struggling and suffering. We hold up Nate McDad Kennedy, Ashley Kennedy, and their family as they mourn Nate's mom, Peggy, who passed away this week. We hold up Tony Taylor, who is at home walking with Mona on her final journey. We hold up Gene Schaefer, who lost his grandpa this week. We hold up everyone who has lost someone dear to them in the past year. We hold up all of those who are still under the anxiety of not gotten their vaccinations against COVID, trying to figure out how to make it work. And we celebrate with all of those who feel a burden lifted off of them because they have gotten that first vaccination or that second vaccination, or have passed the time they had to wait and can feel like they can walk in sunshine with just a lightness about them. We hold each and every joy or concern that is held in everybody this morning, wishing peace, wishing blessing, wishing presence in this moment.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe out. When I breathe in, I breathe out. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, when I breathe out, I breathe out loud. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, when I breathe out, I breathe out loud. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, when I breathe out, I breathe out loud. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, when I breathe out, I breathe out loud. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, when I breathe out, I breathe out loud. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I breathe breathe out, when I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, when I breathe out, I breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
Resistance is Futile by Reverend Doug Kraft. We want to give you an update on our progress, the captain said over the PA. A silent groan went through the passengers. The word update meant the problem wasn't fixed. I was on a plane sitting on the tarmac trying to get to the East Coast, where I was officiating at my nephew's wedding. We took off nearly an hour behind schedule. My itinerary gave me an hour in Houston before a connecting flight left. I'd hoped to get something to eat. Instead, I barely made the plane. I like to look out airplane windows. The woman by the window closed the shade so she could watch a movie. The woman right next to me had 3 martinis and laughed constantly as she watched the movie. I wasn't interested in the movie. I read a little, slept a little, worked on my computer a little. Nothing was satisfying. There was nothing left for me to do but meditate. I didn't want to meditate because there was so much aversion inside me about all the things that hadn't gone the way I wanted. When I closed my eyes, I was too worn to fight the aversion. So I didn't try. I just felt the cranky thoughts and relaxed. The aversion wasn't that pack of grubby monsters I'd feared. It was like a 4-year-old complaining that Dad had cut the crust off the bread of his sandwich. It was sad, but kind of sweet and endearing. I remembered that crucial meditation lesson. Resistance is futile. Fighting reality, wanting things to be different than they are, is what Jean Houston calls schlock suffering. Life has its unavoidable discomforts, but it doesn't turn into anguish unless we have the hubris to think it should be different just because we want it to be different. Aversion is like an ocean wave rolling toward us. We can try to run from it, but it's likely to catch us from behind, sweep us away, or knock us flat. The Buddha recommended turning toward discomfort and getting to know it, even if that means diving into the wave. Then we experience its true nature. Water that passes by in a rush. Not so bad after all. Sitting on the plane, I learned this again for the 1,000th time. Old habits of turning away are deeply conditioned. I have to learn it over and over until relaxing into the wave becomes a deeper habit. It was almost midnight when my sister picked me up at the airport. I was worn, tired, hungry, and unexpectedly light in spirit.
Life has its unavoidable discomforts, but it doesn't turn into anguish unless we have the hubris to think it should be different just because we want it to be different. End quote. Isn't that the truth? So much of our suffering comes because we think we have control over the world, or that we should have control over the world. When we have about as much control over the world as we have over the waves in the ocean. That's why waves are such a potent symbol of the fullness and power, immutability of life. Waves washing over us, waves crashing at us, waves coming into us and flowing away, waves of sadness, waves of joy. The theme for April is mindfulness. But it seems like it's the sermon that I've been trying to give, maybe imperfectly, all year long. Mindfulness is the concept of being present to this moment, to paying attention to what is, to this life that we are living. That sounds funny, doesn't it? How can you not pay attention to your life? Well, if you've ever driven all the way home without remembering a moment of the drive, that's how. Or like me, so maybe you wake up out of some reverie in the middle of driving and wondering, where the heck am I? Until finally a familiar landmark rolls into sight. It's actually pretty easy to go through life on autopilot, to spend too much time looking back at past decisions that we wish we could take back, or planning ahead and imagining every detail of an event that might never happen. How much of our lives do we spend somewhere else? Here, but not here. Because it actually takes work and paying attention and practicing mindfulness to notice the moments of our lives as we actually live them. It's hard work to be here, to be right here, right now, to notice what is happening all around us, in our bodies, in our relationships, in the earth outside the window. Now, why is it so important to be present to our lives? Why is mindfulness of the passing moment a helpful thing to be aware of? Some people love to live with the rosy nostalgia of some imagined past, or in the bright hope of a glorious future. But I invite you to do this right now. Look around and actually see the space you're in right now. Feel it with your body. Is it chilly? Is it warm? Is it bright and sunny or dark? Is it comfortably in between? What are the smells and the aromas in your space? Can you smell your neighbor making breakfast in the apartment on the hall? Can you smell your own breakfast still lingering in the air? And what sounds do you hear? Is there a clock ticking, traffic going by, the birds outside your window? Allow the whole of the experience to fill all of your senses. Be fully present to your space in your room right now. This is the experience of being fully alive. And you know what? This memory will probably stick with you for quite some time. Next week, you'll be able to look back and remember this Sunday morning, even though all the rest of them may have become a blur. I remember when my son was born. I was just 21 years old and so happy to be a mom, but I was also constantly looking ahead to what comes next. I couldn't wait until he was born, and then till he started lifting his head or giving me a real smile, and then looking ahead to when he was going to begin to crawl or take his first steps or start talking. I was always looking forward to what came next and forgot a lot of the time to just appreciate the joy of what was. I do have a few memories of sitting with him on my chest, of holding him. And the interesting thing about those memories is I remember his warmth against my body. I remember the stillness of the room. I remember hearing his breath go in and out. All of those are part of those memories. With my girls, I learned a little bit, and I celebrated a lot more of the time that I had with them, because I had already experienced just how quickly babyhood flies by. Today, my son is 38 years old. It seems like a blink. In another blink, he's going to be 50. But you know, mindfulness is not about stopping time. It is about appreciating the fullness of the time we have. In our reading today, Doug Kraft said he turned into and accepted the aggravations of his flight. He was fully present to them, and somehow they became less irritating. I think much of the time that can be true. When we stop running away from things we fear, we find out that within that thing we were running away from can be moments of blessing or even joy hidden within. All of us have gone through an incredibly aggravating year, a year of being separated from people we love, from things we like to do, from the simple pleasures of sharing a meal or just even singing together. I can't speak for you, but much of the time I was focused on what was lost, what I was missing, instead of paying attention to what was. If I was looking at see the whole picture, I would have noticed more space in my life, more space in the world around me, space on the highways, even during rush hour, space in the grocery store, space to find my thoughts, because I haven't been running off to a dozen different engagements each week that I had to drive to. If I had them, they were on Zoom. It was just turning on a click on my computer. I've also noticed generosity and kindness and compassion. Those are all there in the midst of this difficult time. People doing something extra for their neighbors or their friends. Folks setting up regular calls with family that didn't exist before. Or sending out more handwritten notes. Yes, the pandemic has been a tremendous pain on the surface. It has been deadly and caused massive heartache and loss for millions of people. But it's not the whole of it. And if we can't stop and look at the whole of life, we miss some pretty good and solid moments. Now I was inspired to title this service, Hope Springs Eternal, by a church member who had just returned from her first vaccination and was feeling elated over the promise in that moment. She said she looked out on the socially distanced chairs filled with people waiting their 15 minutes and thought that each person there represented a step closer to getting back to real life. I've talked to a lot of people since then, all in various stages of relationship with this big vaccine rollout. It's one of the first questions people ask when you see them, isn't it? Did you get your vaccine yet? Some people are working to help others get the vaccine. So thank you to Leo and to Darren with their website. Some are feeling anxious because they still aren't eligible, or they are eligible, but they can't seem to find an appointment. Some have one shot, but are waiting for the second, or are waiting for the period after the second. So much waiting. So many ways to be living in a space that is not here or now. All of them with some level of anxiety or pain or even suffering because of wanting life to be something other than it is. Mindfulness is a one way to alleviate that suffering. It doesn't change life. It simply changes our relationship with it. Now, I meditate pretty regularly, although I have to admit, not as much as I want. And I do it because when I finish, I generally feel a peace that I had not known before I started. I mean, sometimes my brain races all over and I have monkey mind. But many times I can slow down and breathe and notice the light. Breathe in the morning air. Feel the light flooding in my window. Just be. These moments are precious and sometimes even lead to some pretty profound insights. Last week, when I was meditating, I was remembering my parents and had the usual wave of sadness and of loss and of missing them in my life. But then, for a brief moment, and it wasn't anything I did, the lens suddenly shifted. And instead of feeling angst at my loss, I felt a deep gratitude for the love they had given me all my life. That shift felt profound in the moment and started me thinking of everybody who had ever blessed me throughout my life. And I started remembering every single person who had loved me and helped me to become the person I am today. I was filled with a sense of well-being and fullness and light and love. A switch had flipped in a moment from sadness to joy, all because of being fully open to what was. I will admit that was an anomaly. It's not a place I reach very often, but it's a place I would have never found if I didn't make the space in my day to be mindful, to practice seeing what truly is instead of what I want life to be. I know that many of you already have mindfulness practices. Some of you could be giving this talk way better than I this morning. Each Monday, Lenny Edgen leads a group meditating on Zoom. We have a soul work book club that is reading Why Fish Don't Exist and then reflecting on it this month. And then Linda Carlin takes folks on forest walks to simply be present to the gifts of the moment in a local forest preserve. None of these leaders has perfect lives. They don't feel happy all the time. And they don't feel like they've got something that other people don't. But they are more present to their own lives because of these practices, and they help people around them to find that presence as well. We are right now in a tenuous time in our country at the tail end, hopefully, of a stressful and tragic pandemic. And now more than ever, we can see the light at the end, and it's hard not to be putting all of our energy into looking forward to when these restrictions can end. I've felt it in an anxiety and an extra crunchiness in both in myself and in my interactions with other people. I felt it in stories that I've heard from others, and you may be feeling it yourself. The wanting something in the future can make us feel pretty cranky and crappy about today, but it doesn't serve any of us. I had our meditation teacher share that she was struggling once with unease and frustration during a sitting practice, struggling with monkey mind and just wanting to be done, trying to focus on each breath as she breathed in and out, when suddenly it arose in her imagination that what would happen if this breath was her very last? She was surprised at how her breathing automatically slowed down, how each breath seemed to become more precious than when she thought it was just one of innumerable to come. Can you imagine if we do that with our own lives? Imagine this day might be the last one we have. What would you do with it if it was your last day on earth? How might you pay more attention? How could it become a day that you would remember and appreciate? That's mindfulness in a nutshell. Breathing each and every breath as if it is the only breath you get. Living your life as if it is the only one you get, because as far as we know, that's true. Breathe in today. Breathe out. You are alive, and that's amazing. Amen, and blessed be.
My life, it don't count for nothing when I look at this world. I feel so small, and my life, it's only a season, a passing September that no one will recall. To my friends when they're hurting, and I can make it seem better for a while. And my life, it's half the way traveled, and still I have not found my way out of this night. And my life, it's tangled in wishes and so many things that just never turned out right. But I gave joy to my mother, and I made my lover smile, and I can give comfort to my friends when they're hurting. I can make it seem better. I can make it seem better. I can make it seem better for a while.
Crystal of Creation by Reverend Tess Bomberger. If there is a heaven, it is right here, right now, in this particular arrangement of nature, this happening of earth, moon, and star, this constellation of instants, this laden moment, this flash of recognition, this particle of time. If there is a God, it is all around us, everywhere, in every blinking eye, in every pulsing possibility, in every ugliness, every beauty, in every wholeness, every part. If there is an axiom in the universe, it is life, it is love, it is death, it is hatred. It is wanting and needing to be in this crystal of creation.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of its truth, the warmth of this community, nor the fire of our commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world.
Our closing words are from Rainier Maria Rilke from the Book of Images. And you wait. You wait for the one thing that will change your life and make it more than it is. Something wonderful, exceptional, stones awakening, depth opening to you. In the dusky bookstalls, old books glimmer gold and brown. You think of lands you journeyed through, of paintings, and a dress once worn by a woman you never found again. And suddenly you know that was enough. You rise, and there appears before you in all its longings and hesitations, the shape of what you lived. Amen and blessed be.
This is the answer to the letter unsent, which even so arrived some years later, like a song sometimes written for love, long before it is alive. Oh, the poem sighed to sweet faces called away in some damned machine. machine, leaving them no quiet time to liken things to other things, and trying to describe other things. Now save with the answer to a question unasked that needed no reply. He is singing a description of a song you cannot write, about how hard it is to cry, and all the words in the wrong places, oh, the spaces stumbling in between. Or is there just no brighter time to liken things to other things, trying to describe